Wisdom from the Waves. Stories of courage, creativity, and connection. We need stories. We need them to share truths and so that we can be listened to. When we share our vulnerabilities with others, we build connection with the right others, not just anyone, but people who we trust to hold space for us. This happens a lot in the water. I feel like sometimes stories are shared there that maybe wouldn't be shared anywhere else. There's something about being in the ocean. I don't know. It feels like a safe space. Sometimes some of the hardest stories I've heard and shared have been down there. The morning that my mum passed, I suddenly got this text from my sister and I didn't know what was going on. I rang and my mum had just passed away and my sister was distraught. It was just such a shock. My mum had been unwell for some time, but in order to have this heart surgery that she'd needed after a heart attack, she'd gone through hoops and rings to prove that she was strong enough to survive at least 10 years, they said. Otherwise, they wouldn't have even let her have the surgery because it's expensive and she's an older person with a lot of health needs. Unfortunately, it comes down to sometimes. I didn't think she'd last 10 years, but I did feel like that we would have at least 5 or a few or more than a year. So the fact that she'd just passed so suddenly and my dad and my sister were grieving, it was a really hard phone call to listen to. I kind of didn't really know what to do. My daughter had heard something had been going on, and so I told her the news and we're both quite upset about it. And I just didn't know what to do. So I just thought, I'm going to go for a swim, which seems a bit funny now, but I just said, I'm just going to go for a swim and then we'll work out what we're going to do. And in that moment, I was really fairly selfish. I could just think about me, but I really couldn't think. So I just went to the water because it was time to swim anyway. And, I was walking down the jetty with my friend Andrea, and they just blurted it out because I didn't even know how I was feeling. And, she's such a beautiful, compassionate heart. She just took me in her arms and I just started crying because I realised I was actually pretty sad about it. And yeah, it's still sad even thinking about it. So we went to the water where we usually go when things are hard and washed it off. And I realised some of my grief was for me. Some of it was for my mum and her family. And some of it was for the relationship that we never quite had. And it really reminded me how trauma interrupts relationships. I'd come to a good place with my mum, but I'd started off pretty badly with her. I really struggled with that relationship. She struggled to show her love in the early years. Probably like a lot of close family relationships, it was complicated. There was a lot of things that were unresolved. There was a lot of things that we just didn't understand about each other. Seeing a good counsellor and a good psychologist helped me work through some of the things that had happened to me as a child, not necessarily to do with my mum. Stuff that she probably didn't even really know about. But it kind of broke down that connection for us. I think for me, having my own children really helped me understand a bit of my mum, because I had great intentions and great love for my children, but sometimes my trauma responses really got in the way of being able to be a good mum. And not even a good mum, because what is good? But being a connected mum. I think this is the powerful thing about doing your work, is you get to find out in the ways that you're not so healthy. But being an adult, you have got choices, and I had tools and a wonderful counsellor who's really helped me get to know myself so I can make changes. Anyway, I hadn't worked through all of this stuff at the time. I'd worked through some of it because when Mum had had a heart attack the year before, it really brought home to us how vulnerable she was. And until she had the heart operation, she was very touch and go whether she would have another heart attack and we'd lose her. So I guess sometimes the benefit of, I don't know if it's a benefit, but having that kind of struggle come up, it gives you a bit of time for pre-grieving, for kind of looking at what will you feel like when they pass. And I think it actually gave me an opportunity to get a bit closer to Mum, get to know her a bit better and realise that she probably didn't have a long life to live, and whatever was unsaid when she passed would be unsaid forever. But that day we just got in the water and the ocean just soothed me, I guess. It brought me back to my body, brought me back to the moment, which is all we ever have anyway, and reminded me that we do need people